8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody, and a warm welcome. My name is Sunanda Wong, and I'm your host for the evening. And I promise you, we're going to have an exceptionally insightful and rewarding evening ahead. An evening where we're going to recognize not only the winners of the coveted Times Power of Print Awards, but also provide you all with a very engaging panel discussion with international panelists joining us from the UK. Times Power of Print, a unique initiative by the Times Group, was born 4 years ago with the objective of driving creativity in print and demonstrating the strong link between efficacy and creativity. Well, campaigns that work hard do not have to be boring. Times Power of Print invites creative minds from across the country to build an impactful print campaign for a brief that can make a positive difference in society. Croma Retail, part of Tata Group, has been the Power of Print partner for the last 2 editions. The brief for last year was responsible disposal of e-waste. The brief for this year is one that is the need of the hour and something that impacts each one of us in this pandemic-riddled world. Mr. Ritesh Ghoshal, Chief Marketing Officer of Croma, will talk to us later in the evening on the thought behind the event. Power of Print has received an overwhelming response since the first year of its launch, and this year has been absolutely no different. It received 980 plus entries from 250 plus agencies and students. A big thank you to each and every one of you who participated in this contest and made it a huge success yet again. And this could not have been possible without our partner, Croma Retail. Tonight we will be announcing the national, zonal and student winners of the 4th edition of Times Power of Print. The winning campaign will be released by Croma in the Times Group publications, and the winning team gets a fully paid trip to Cannes Lions. And like I said earlier, we also have an engaging panel discussion with a global panel powered by WARC on what's the next frontier for creativity in print media. To kickstart this evening, I would like to invite President Response of the Times Group, Mr. Parthapi Sinha, to give us the keynote address.
Good evening and welcome to the 4th edition of POP, the Power of Print. First of all, my heartfelt thank you for our sponsor, Croma. They have been a part of this journey for the past 2 years, and not only they have partnered us in POP, they have also gone ahead and proved to the world that print ad indeed is one very strong way of influencing people's mind. As we go through the evening, you will see that our recurring theme would be twofold. One is the idea of effectiveness, which always trumps the idea of efficiency. And second is the role of creativity in print advertisement. I think the way communication is getting shaped up, one large point is getting missed, which is it's very important how many people are seeing your ad and how many people your ad is reaching. But that cannot be the end objective. That is efficiency. If you are only thinking about that, if as a community we are only thinking about that, we will possibly be missing the wood for the trees. It's important how many people your communication has reached, but it's far more important what your communication has achieved, how many people it could influence, how many people's thinking it could influence. And when it comes to that, possibly there is no alternative to print. Because we as a nation give significant emphasis on education. And to an educated lot, written words always have a far better influence. It shapes the country's consciousness. And that is what the power of print actually is. I mean, we can go ahead and prove that yes, different publication will have different kind of reach. We are pretty good with affluent audience. All that is fine. But at the end of the day, if you have to shape the nation's opinion, if you have to change thinking, if you have to bring a lot of people onto the fold of a new thinking, then there is no alternative to print. And that's why when it comes to effectiveness, print always has a march over many other medium, because efficiency is only half the story told. And the second part of the story, of course, is creativity. Because I may be slightly old-fashioned, but the truth remains, we still think that the way to influence people's thinking, the way to reach people's heart, there would be a significant role which will be played by creativity. It's not just about the algorithm. Of course, the algorithm is very good to, understand which audience, where, how. But beyond that, I think it's the role of creativity which makes people identify with the communication. Unless, of course, we are talking about evil algorithm, which can even influence people's thinking. We are not getting there. But on a serious note, creativity has always been the cornerstone of communication. And we are committed to bring creativity back onto print communication. I was talking to a few great print writers from across the world, people from the UK, US, India, and everybody sort of agreed that there has been a, attempt of making communication a little banal. As one very famous writer, I'll not take his name, said that print creativity has got reduced to a poster with a header. We are committed to bring creativity back, and this is primarily the reason of having this contest. And if you see the quality of work that has come in and the way people are thinking, we have no reason to feel bad about the future of creativity, especially when it comes to print. So I want to thank all the creative people, all the advertising agencies who have participated in this contest, and a big congratulations to all the winners. But let me tell you, as a part of the jury process, I have seen it was extremely difficult to pick up the winners. So a big round of applause for all the people who have participated in Power of Print, and slightly bigger congratulations to the winner. I also want to thank the jury. They are all very famous, creative people. I know they are all very busy. So many thanks for being able to take time out and do the jury duty. And I finally, last but not the least, I want to thank WARC for putting together a brilliant panel, which you will see a few minutes down the line. Thank you very much. Welcome to POP version 4, and congratulations to the winner, and a big thank you to everybody who participated in this effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for those insightful nuggets. I would now like to invite the CEO of Croma Infinity Retail, Mr. Avijit Mitra, to address us. Mr. Mitra.
Hi everyone. It's a real pleasure to be associated with Times of India in the Power of Print program for the second time this year. Last year we worked on the fundamental issue of e-waste in the country, and it was a fantastic outcome that we got. This year, as we sat down to think about what could be the agenda, one of the things that struck us is that any crisis really gives us an opportunity to make some fundamental and cultural changes to society. And Power of Print is an excellent platform for driving such agenda. So what we reckoned is that post the pandemic, one of the things that is likely to survive, one of the trends that is likely to survive or would be very good if it survives, is the usage of masks across the country for the purpose of protecting other people from infection that one may be carrying. During the pandemic, the mask is important for us to protect ourselves, but it is also equally important for us to use the mask to protect those around us, the community around us. And I think post-pandemic, this will survive. If you see some of the evolved countries like Japan, even before the pandemic, you would see a lot of people wearing masks as responsible citizens trying to protect their community. This is the agenda that we have taken up this year. I think the Power of Print is a fantastic platform to drive this and move the needle in however small way and bring it into our cultural behavior. I wish the program is a grand success. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it will be a grand success, and look forward to the results coming out and the campaigns running across the country. I hope that we are able to make a significant change in society as life settles back to normal. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Mr. Mitra, for reflecting on the association. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our panel discussion with some industry stalwarts from advertising and marketing effectiveness to discuss and debate the topic, what's the next frontier for creativity in print media? I would like to invite the Senior Vice President Response of the Times Group, Mr. Malcolm Raphael, to introduce the panel.
Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce to you what is truly a global panel joining us from India, the UK, and Singapore. The panel, powered by WRC, will discuss and debate on what's the next frontier for creativity in print media. We are fortunate to have with us Mr. Shashi Sinha, CEO, IPG Media Brands, an industry veteran of more than 30 years, to join us today. Mr. Shashi manages the second largest media agency group that includes Lodestar, Initiative Media, Interactive Avenues, Media Brands, and few others. The group manages approximately 20% of the overall media spend in the country and is widely recognized for its strategic approach to media solutions across a wide portfolio of over 100 blue-chip clients. Welcome to the panel, Shashi, and thank you for joining us today. After more than 3 decades in the business, Mr. Agnello Dias, popularly known as Aggie, is one of the most awarded and influential figures in the Indian advertising industry. In 2008, at the peak of his network career, Aggie co-founded his own independent agency, Taproot India, a move that kickstarted the wave of bold new independent agencies in Indian advertising. Over the years, Aggie has gone on to be internationally recognized at every creative festival, winning multiple Grand Prix for his iconic creative partnerships with the Times of India, Mumbai Mirror, Pepsi, Nike, and Airtel, to name a few. He is now creative chairman of Dentsu Aegis Network India. Welcome to the panel, Aggie, and thank you for joining us today. Our third panelist is Ms. Denise Turner, who's joining us from London. Denise is the head of Insight for Newsworks, the UK marketing body for newspapers in all their forms. Before this, she was the Chief Insight Officer at Havas Media Group. Welcome to the panel, Denise, and thank you for joining us all the way from UK. Our fourth and final panelist is Mr. Gurdeep Puri, who also joins us from London. Gurdeep is a founder of the Effectiveness Partnership, a transformation agency designed to embed a culture of effectiveness in brands and agencies. Before this, he was the head of effectiveness at Leo Burnett. Welcome to the panel, Gurdeep, and thank you for joining from UK. Finally, the panel will be moderated by Mr. Edward Pang, MD at WARC APAC. Ed opened the APAC office for WARC 10 years back, and since then has been helping marketers devise more effective marketing campaigns with access to best practice insights at WARC.com and bespoke advisory solutions. Before this, Ed was the MD for Bates in Singapore. Welcome, Ed, and look forward to an extremely engaging panel discussion. Over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Malcolm, for the introduction, and welcome to this panel on what's the next frontier for creativity in print media. A truly global panel coming to you from India, the UK, and myself in Singapore. So welcome, Denise, Aggie, Shashi, and Gurdeep. Thanks very much for sparing your time in what promises to be a great discussion. So the continued strength of print as a channel in India is clear to see. The daily ritual of reading your paper with a cup of chai is enjoyed by many in India. And I was doing a bit of research earlier on WARC, and in terms of daily media consumption, print has actually been steadily increasing over the years and across many demographics in terms of time spent and share of media consumption. And also it seems that print's been remarkably resilient in the pandemic. So during the very strict lockdown in India last March and April, 74% of people said that they missed their daily delivery of their newspaper. And 29% have moved to reading newspapers online, but only 4% said they would unsubscribe from hard copy versions. And that's a pretty incredible, resilient position. During the pandemic, though, there's been a fair bit of criticism in many markets on the demise of creativity. And in some respects, this is unsurprising. From research done for WARC's toolkit for 2021, 44% of respondents in APAC said that they had planned to cut investment in creative development. And 75% said that the cuts were coming from brand building. Maybe this is inevitable when most markets are still in recession and consumers are holding back spend. But creativity after brand size is the biggest actionable lever for effectiveness. So Aggie, maybe I can come to you first. Do you believe that creativity has suffered during the pandemic in India? And equally, do you believe that creativity should be at the heart of any recovery strategy?
So I think, yes, creativity did suffer. And it was partly because logistically you just couldn't go out and shoot anything. I think what caused more confusion was the indefiniteness of the size and scale of the pandemic and the lockdown. So it wasn't like we were told or we knew that it would last for so long. It was just a new deadline every 15 or 20 days. So in terms of the creative person's thinking, we then started writing stuff that could be shot remotely or could be shot in somebody's house or could be shot without a crowd or without going out in public. So that did affect creativity. But I think the reason why creativity is at the heart of whatever is going to come next is because the only future for a good, robust economy is actually demand and desire. If people go out and want to buy more, that will get the wheels of the economy turning. If they don't, like a lot of people in India today may have the money, but they still don't want to spend it because they don't know what's coming tomorrow. So it's not like they don't have the money. And the only way to create desire or demand out of nothing is to use creativity in order to make people feel optimistic or positive or look up to what is going to be there tomorrow rather than hunker down and close themselves in on whatever they are doing.
Okay, so you think creativity should take a hopeful, positive, optimistic stance for brands. You think that's a powerful strategy?
Yes, I don't think there is any other choice actually.
Okay, very good. And Shashi, coming to you, what do you think opportunities are there for advertisers within the print channel to build a recovery strategy?
So, I'm a media person, Ed, so I'll speak from that perspective.
Sure.
I think print probably is best position, and not because I'm on the print panel I'm saying this. I genuinely believe in the power of print. I've said it from many forums. So, the reason I say this today, India, as you said, print is still very strong. There's a credibility around print. It's got immediacy, it's got large circulation and reach. So, and print is perhaps the only medium which works both in India from a top of funnel to bottom of funnel. Let me explain. So, top of funnel, it still is a way to inform, to entertain, to educate people. And as Agi said, if creativity comes back through optimism, we have seen some very good campaigns in print earlier. And bottom of funnel, because of all the technology available today and with digital as a part of the print ecosystem, so bottom of funnel in terms of responses and CRM or whatever. So I think I can't think of if I were a print, I would be a very exciting time to be in India, as long as the print publishers get their act together in managing the top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel. So I think no other medium, television is only top of the funnel, digital is only part of the funnel. So print, the way it is positioned in India, that's one point. The second point is print still plays a very strong educative role. So India literacy levels, the yearning to learn is a lot more, and still the developing countries. So English print, because people want to learn English, this one way. One of the reasons when you said people want to come back to print, it's a way of educating themselves. Language print, similar. So I think there is enough headroom. As you know, circulation has been controlled by the publishers. I mean, if they unleash the circulation, so there's a huge potential. So I think it's for the industry to open their eyes and say, listen, there is for us to exploit the potential.
Okay, thank you, Sashi. That's really interesting about the only channel that kind of goes all the way through the funnel. Just coming back to kind of particular creative strategies, and to kind of ask both yourself and Aggie. So today we published a Spotlight India series on Walk, and the subject was on brand activism. And it's sort of more than just brand purpose, the opportunity for brands to be bolder and take a stand, as data tells us that consumers expect brands to do more, particularly in the kind of COVID era. Do you agree with this opportunity for brands, and do you think print can play a role in that?
Well, absolutely. Sorry, Aggie. Absolutely. I just build on what Aggie said. So Indians per se are very optimistic. If you see any survey done in India, they come from an optimism. And this pandemic for the last 12 months has messed it up slightly, but still people are hopeful. So I think if brands start looking, whether short-term, long-term doesn't matter, is they start looking at emotional connect and psychology of the consumer, there will obviously be a big upside. The thing is to look at that. So to me, short-term, long-term is two sides of the same coin. Is rather than saying a price off, you're saying, listen, I'm connecting with the consumer, you will get a far better benefit.
Okay, and Aggie, what do you think about brand activism as a kind of creative strategy to appeal to consumers?
See, I'll say from the lens of print, I think print has the ability to put forward a nuanced point far better than video. Okay, it has the power to walk a reader through a layered understanding of a point being made. And even today, when there is a complex point to be made about neutrality, online security, or net neutrality, most of even the big digital gurus choose, the structured power of print to put it across. So a well-written ad actually has the ability to handle nuances better than any other medium. And I've always felt that print makes you think, whereas video makes you feel. And the power of a rational argument will always find its true form in the written word. And if we use this in order to leverage, like you were saying, brand activism, I do not know whether I would look at it as an opportunity, because then that would make the brand an opportunistic brand. But if there is a genuine connect between what the brand does and a tension point in society, then by all means go ahead and leverage it. However, it could be misused because there are quite a few brands that go around looking for a cause when there is none, and I think that's when it falls flat on its face. But having said that, I think print tends to penetrate deeper and stay longer in the human mind than say a video does, because you stop watching it it's mostly just a fleeting kind of transient vision. But print kind of seeps into you, and and nuances of what you read surface in your moments when you're not reading it.
I love that. Print makes you think, whereas video makes you feel. And that's a really interesting point. Denise, I was going to come to you next on the same area in terms of creativity in print. And what's your perspective from an international standpoint or a UK standpoint on this?
So I think that sometimes people, I think the conversation around, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel is a really interesting one, because I think sometimes people pigeonhole print, particularly in the UK, that it's all about, Gertie will appreciate this, but the retail detail, that was just about giving you the prices that you can pay for something. But I think actually we've lost some of the or at least when people plan and buy the print channel, it's about taking a step back and thinking about actually people have chosen to take time to read this publication. This publication understands me. It understands what I sort of want out of life. I might not agree with everything. That's not about, it's not just sort of, being spoon-fed, but it's about taking the time and the sort of perspective of, I want to understand the world. I want to understand the why behind the what. And I think that's really important from a creativity perspective, because it's not just about giving people the facts. It's about, giving people the things that they need to make the decisions they need to make. It's about helping them understand the world. And I think advertising should do that as well. Actually, it's about, that sort of creativity of, what is it that I need to know about the world that will help me make the decisions that I need to make? And I think the fact that people have taken the time, I think that's the thing, and obviously in the UK, news brands are digital as well, and the platforms play a different roles for, for different perspectives. But I think the fact that people tend to take a step back and they read the title, they absorb the information, they absorb the knowledge, and then they make their own decisions. And I think for brands, for developing creativity, it's about thinking about actually how can I engage with consumers to help make that difference in terms of, I'm not just telling you what to do, I'm inviting you to be with me and make the decision.
That's a really interesting point about the audience giving time to read or having time to read a particular channel, being able to engage with an audience that is so deep into the channel and has the time to reflect. And maybe that's very of the moment in terms of us all being busier than ever and in this kind of pandemic world and on screens most of the time, is actually taking some time out and being able to reflect and engage a publication which is sharing a point of view. I think that's, it feels very of the time and of the moment. And clearly from what I've been reading and understanding in India, there is a ritual every morning that people read the paper with a cup of tea, and that continues. And maybe some of the Western markets can copy that kind of behaviour and take some time out, particularly around this kind of print channel that we're talking about. Great. I'd now like to move the conversation on to long-term versus short-term debate. And Gertie, I'd like to come to you next, if that's okay. So do we believe that the industry has become overly obsessed on output rather than outcome, i.e. the short-term effects rather than changing the way that audiences think or feel in the long term? And as an industry, are we overestimating the impact of digital performance media and underestimating the power of traditional channels? And how do we achieve the right balance and blend? So, Gertie, what's your view on long-term versus short-term and the role that print can play within that?
Thank you, Ed. I'd like to sort of start this, first of all, just saying that, print clearly works. Okay, I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's how it works and in how many different ways, which we have to think about. And, you know, there's enough research there. I mean, the IPA conducted in the UK, the Institute of Practitioners of Advertising conducted research between 2012 and 2018 that showed campaigns that included print media delivered an impressive 127% uplift in market share versus campaigns that didn't have print media in them. So there's enough stats out there that show that print works. Yeah. The question is a lot with long-term and short-term, and I don't think it's a question only for India. It's a question, I think, is systemic and it's global in the world we're in now, where we have, you know, fragmentation of how we work within agencies and within marketing side with clients. The fact that there's too much data out there, and the fact there is so much tech coming out in terms of channel proliferation. How do we actually deal with all this and make it all work? And the conversation always comes back for me to, what are we trying to achieve? And I think Shashi alluded to this earlier on. He mentioned the word emotional connection. And for me, you know, it comes down to, what are we trying to do for our clients? What is the problem we're trying to solve commercially? What is the behavioral problem, or what is the commercial problem that we, as strategists producing print media, we're trying to solve, and how are we going to do that? And importantly, because it's a multivariate world, it's not a univariate world anymore, right? It's print, which of course is being bought as part of a multivariate channel strategy by a client. So what is the purpose of print? Knowing that there's a TV campaign, knowing that there's a digital campaign, knowing there's a social campaign going on as well, right? What is the purpose that print plays in all of this, and how does it work? So for me, you know, my advice to strategists out there, whether on the client side or the agency side, is take a step back. Is your client's business going up? Is it stagnating? Is it in decline? Look at the numbers. What is the purpose of the campaign you're trying to achieve? Don't just go with this about increasing awareness, because every campaign is about increasing awareness. You know, what is the behavioral problem you're trying to solve, which will solve the commercial problem, which will then empower the marketer in the boardroom? Yeah. What will success look like? And what is the purpose of print in that mix, and how will it work? It is, I think we shoot ourselves in the foot, because a lot of the time we go off to produce strategy without actually knowing what it's trying to do and how it's going to approach and solve a high level upstream commercial problem. And I think that's not the fault of agencies. You know, the clients, marketers as well, I think, are swimming and drowning at the moment in data and loads of tech. And, you know, we sometimes lose sight of what the higher level, you know, more upstream commercial problem we're trying to solve, which will actually have impact in the boardroom. Yeah. And in order for creativity to, you know, to have an impact in the boardroom, I think it falls upon us to make sure every campaign we produce has a commercial imperative to it. And thinking about that, actually, that commercial imperative, I think print can, you know, singularly and working in collaboration with other media, help achieve by producing more emotionally connecting campaigns. And I do believe, I think Angela said it earlier on, it is about a medium that makes you think more. You know, video has its purpose, but, you know, just as you read a book, you know, reading has cognitively how it affects your brain and how you remember things. You know, print has a clear role in that. My question is, what is the role? What is it doing? How is it getting people to change behavior? To what purpose at the end at a commercial level?
Yeah, understand. So, and what we've been hearing from earlier from Sashi is print has the ability to be top of funnel and the bottom of funnel. So it's very versatile. And I think, Goody, your point is working out kind of what is the role of the channel within your overall media mix, so being very clear about the objectives for print within the kind of the gamut of all the channels that you're actually using. That's a really interesting point. Thank you. Aggie or Shashi, do you want to jump in on that?
I was just trying to listen to Gurdeep and say, why is it that nowadays when we go in for a presentation, print is almost treated like domestic POS. It's POS inside the house, right? Or you know, the last frame of the television commercial. One of the reasons could be in its format itself, the format of producing it. Because when you go to a client with a print ad, it's almost say 70 or 80% the final print ad. Whereas when you go to a client with a film script, it's only 30% away from actually what it could be. And therefore the bigger stakes, the bigger calls are actually all reserved for film. Once that is out and everybody's agreed with film, it's almost like you've crossed the hump of a mountain, and then everything else can fall into place. But like he was saying, if we find the role for print separately from TV, television is like the voice of passion and print is the voice of reason. But the same brand can have two sides to it. It's what it puts out on television is actually a certain side of human personality that is trying to engage, but the same brand could actually use the voice of reason once it's out in print, because uh, print has, at least in India, print has far greater credibility than video for whatever reason. Television is seen as fleeting, transient, or even digital. It will come and go tomorrow, but print is permanent. It's a record keeper of the times we live in. Once it's out in the paper, it's out in the world forever. That's not how video or digital is seen, and that's the power that print has, which is to be uh, emphatic and definitive about what it says about a brand. And most brands will need communicate that side as well. I can't think of a brand that says, "Oh, we just want to make people feel wiffly waffly, and that's it. We don't have we don't have a reasoned, logical side to us at all."
And I think on that, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are examples, clear examples that one can look at. There's a campaign that was conducted by Lloyds Bank in the UK, which was to target older, affluent customers to try its banking app, right? And they tried the other media to get this particular audience to come on board, and it didn't work. And of course, the insight was that this particular audience liked to do crosswords, and their dwell time when they were doing crosswords. So what they created was a campaign working with the Daily Telegraph from the UK to run 10 crossword clues ads, basically, which also got people to understand how to use the app as well, and app usage shot up because of it. There's campaigns like the Heart Foundation in Australia, which for 10 years, 15 years, they've been trying to get the government to invest in apparatus to help people being tested for heart disease. And to invest in this subject, and they haven't been able to. But a print campaign working with PR managed to convince the government within 7 days to invest in getting people tested and taking heart disease seriously. So with purpose it works. And I of course grew up half my life in India as a child, in Delhi and in Bombay, and I remember my mornings were always with the Times of India with a glass of milk and my breakfast, and you'd read the paper, and this is how you started your day. And clearly nothing's changed. India is synonymous with print, and my question of course is, with all the new media coming in and all the tech coming in, which of course India I would say is leading the world compared to where we are in some European markets, more and more so, the more upstream we make our strategy for print, the more we can demonstrate the value of print in the boardroom.
And that was my next kind of point, actually. It's a great segue. So print is obviously in such a strong position in India and across kind of younger demographics as well. But how long can that last, do we think, with the influx of TikTok's banned in India, but local examples of that, or online video or gaming, these new sort of nascent channels that are coming onto the scene. And of course, India has a much more youthful population than many markets. So how can India hold on to this kind of the love of the newspaper? Or will it slowly transition through to digital as kind of greater connectivity kind of happens within the rural areas? Sashi, what's your perspective?
Yeah. So, the flow is digital. So that will happen. At what pace and what speed? I had a few suggestions to make, So I still believe for a long time to come, there's a lot of juice left in print in India. And through this debate, I'm going to make an appeal to the publishers. Problem is they have sold print primarily on the basis of reach and circulation, which is an outdated concept. What we're discussing on this panel, if you're looking at impact, if you're looking at scale, if you're looking at noticeability, if you're looking at, credibility, which Agi spoke about, I think all these And if you could create metrics around them as a not as an individual publisher, but as a body, that's one big story to tell. The second point is, while everyone talks digital, remember India has evolved very fast onto the digital platform, and therefore credibility is suspect. And print and India is still a very nascent market, and it's still a developing market from the youth point of view. And therefore, a lot of people need information. They want credible. Unfortunately, both digital and television today are no longer credible in this country. And unfortunately, I say that. And it'll take some time to change that, So the only issue of credibility has many, many implications for the youth, for the millennials who want to be educated, who want to learn. Forget big town India, forget the metros. If you go to small town India, their whole thing is aspiration. We want to catch up with the world. And their only source of information is print, because print is credible in that sense. So I think if some way this can be harnessed, I believe the juice will remain for a long time. Now, whether it is the form of the physical paper or the same content is going to them in a different form, but at Times of India credibility will always be a Times of India credibility. How Times of India leverages is their choice. So there are 3-4 points I've made in this.
Thank you, Shashi. Denise, I was going to come to you on this point. Are there any learnings from an international perspective? Is the evolution from some newspapers to news brands?
Yeah, I think it's really, I think you make really good points, because, we are not just physical or just digital beings, are we? We need different channels do different things for us. And as in the same way that different channels do different things for brands, there are very few, and I'm sure Gertie would correct me if I'm wrong, but there are very few campaigns in the IP effectiveness data bank that just use one channel, use different channels for different things. And even within news brands, we see that print does one thing, digital does another. The important thing across all of that is the brand, actually. In the UK, the Times or the Guardian or the Mirror or the Sun or whatever, the brand is the important thing. Whatever way it's delivered, it's the brand that gets that credibility. And I think within print, you get the time to reflect, to sort of just debate what's going on. Within digital, it's probably more immediate, although we're just about to talk about some IPA data bank stuff in the next few weeks, which actually, if you advertise in digital news brands, that actually you're much more likely to be long-term than short-term. You're much more likely to deliver profit growth because the brand, I think it's because the brand is trusted, delivers that quality. So I think it's not just about, it's not a binary thing, long-term versus short-term, print versus digital. It's about actually using those different means of delivery to the best that they can. And I think that I still get back to I love the sort of, this idea of sitting down with a cup of tea and reading the print, because I think you don't just see an ad and then go and buy a car, do you? It takes time. It's about that long-term brand building. And I think print has a super important role to play. And I think that also that, people will, certainly, in the UK, people will think that print is dead, but actually it's not. There's still 20-30 million people reading a title every day or every week. And that's, it's still hugely important alongside other channels to deliver a brand's message.
Yeah, and Denise, you goes back to our years ago working together, and the kind of stuff we used to do back in Starcom and Leah Burnett. I mean, you for me, you've hit a real point there, which is, how you are developing print campaigns. And the mistake that I think I've noticed quite a lot that's still being made is when we're developing campaigns, we're using low involvement theory in high involvement channels, or we're using high involvement theory in low involvement channels. And I think we really have to understand how consumers think behaviorally, cognitively, when it comes to digital channels versus traditional channels, and apply the right strategy from the front end to make sure it works.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. We end up being very binary about things, like I said, and it's not quite as simple as that. And I think, we are, yes, although we live in a digital world and we're all doing this via Zoom, we still need that time to step back, pick up the paper, and just calmly absorb stuff. And I think that's really important for our cognitive, absorption of brands, isn't it?
Yes, and Ed, just very quickly to answer your final question that you posted about long and short and about KPIs and metrics, and are we over relying on digital and channels? Look, for us, we have our own way of doing things, the effectiveness partnership, and one of the things we've developed over the years is a thinking which is not about a particular channel. It is about joining the dots, right? And is how everything works together. So yes, looking at efficiency KPIs, what I would call them, cost per reach, cost per click, all that sort of stuff, is important, but they're efficiency KPIs. They're not effectiveness KPIs. Yeah. And effectiveness KPIs are things like, shareholder value, profit, revenue, value, sales, the money at the end of the day, right? And then you've got penetration frequency, and then your comms KPIs and diagnostics coming together. So it's not just about a reliance on just digital metrics, which I think is an erroneous road to take. It is about how that particular medium works alongside print and TV and everything else, and how do all of these fit together. And to the modern day strategists sitting in India, I would say, when you develop your multi-channel campaigns, before that campaign development leaves your agency, or if you're a client, your marketing department, you yourself would hypothesize how your campaign is going to work and in how many different ways, and then decide on the KPIs and how they link together. And my thing always is, imagine you have 10 minutes in the boardroom of your client's business, or you're a marketer and you've got 10 minutes in the boardroom, right? And what are you going to present to them? You want to be able to tell a story that links together perfectly, that says, this is how these channels worked, to do this, to overcome these triggers and barriers, to change individually someone's perception, how to change perception societally, which actually led people to do something commercially that led to this success. So it is about linking everything together, not just looking at one particular set of KPIs. And the problem is we've learned not to collaborate as an industry, and we do work in silos, unfortunately. So the more collaboration we can create across media channels for the benefit of the brand and our clients is the way forward to overcome all of this.
Thank you, Gurdeep. I just wanted to pick up on one point that was mentioned earlier around trust. So in the context of COVID-19 and recent political events around the world, the issue of fake news is increasingly on the agenda, and people or organizations communicating fake news through social media or whatever it might be. And so what opportunities does the panel think that this affords print, and what role can news brands or newspapers play in this? Aggie, can I come to you on that point?
Yeah, see, even now, when we say, something happened and it must be true, and usually we say it must be true, it's in the papers. We don't say it must be true, it's online, correct? Because there still remains a residual feeling among us that once it's in a physical form on a piece of paper, it is arguably closer to the truth than the others are. And print has the opportunity to leverage that, because we know too often that what's online can change, in the very next sentence or by tomorrow itself. Print, in fact, has been used in the past even in legal court cases. So it has that credibility which it does not seem to be leveraging, and the creative agencies or the marketeers themselves try to put out a hoarding in print, try to put out, a TVC by putting out a line from a song in print, or try to replicate what works for other mediums. And I think that's a mistake, because if it has something that your brand has to say that doesn't work in print, then you should not use print. And I doubt anybody can prove to me that there is something a brand has to say that cannot work in print, because print can bring out a side of what the brand has to say that no other medium can. So I think its biggest asset is still the residual credibility it has somewhere deep within our subconscious, that it is on paper, it's out there, it can be taken and shown. It can be held in your hand. It's hard to logicalize this thing, but it is there.
Yeah, it's as you said earlier, the voice of reason, and as I think Denise said, it's a fantastic way to portray an argument. Shashi, any points from you around this issue of trust and fake news?
Yeah, so I make two comments. I mean, I'll just add to what Aggie said. In India, unfortunately, not only online, even television news is suspect, with the way the structure is. So in a way, print compared to other countries has a bigger advantage because print is the only credible option left. The second point is a demonstration I want to make. You see, in the last 3-4 years, and particularly in the COVID times, e-commerce companies or digital companies, I won't say e-commerce companies, have done well. And you see, while naturally to assume that they would probably spend their money on digital, but most of them, not all, but most of them are spending more on print than they're spending on digital, or equal amounts on digital. So that in a way is a testimony to the power and the credibility of print.
Facebook themselves on the net neutrality debate, they're all full page print ads, not a single ad on television.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish you guys were here to see just to build on what Aggie has said, this huge fight on net neutrality with Facebook was all played out on print. It's completely print driven.
Fascinating, guys. So we're almost out of time, but what I wanted to do is wrap up with kind of one question and go around the panel and ask you about what your predictions are for print in the future. So let's get out the crystal ball and see what's next, do we think, for the print channel. And Denise, if I may, I'm going to come to you first with that.
So I think that, we are, back to the point I made earlier, that we're not just physical or digital beings, and we might feel like we're digital beings over the last year, but actually we still need that time to take a step back to understand the why behind the what. And I think that's where the print channel is so important. In the UK, with the pandemic, we've had the TV briefings, we've had various things, but actually what's been really important about the print channel is the understanding of why. What does it mean for me? What's important? And that sort of that sense of not just rationally, but also emotionally, what do these changes mean for me? And I think that's still actually really important for brands, that if they want to reach people in a time when they're taking stock of the world, when they're calibrating what's going on, that's where the print channel is really important. And I don't think that's going to disappear anytime soon, because I think people have that innate need to understand the why behind the what.
Fantastic. Goody, can I come to you next, please?
Yes, I think I've alluded to what I think is the way forward here. And yeah, in a world where we're only going to see more and more tech and more channels coming in, and especially in a country like India, where print has a real, a home in the heart, so to speak, of every Indian. It is about empowering print by ensuring its purposes as upstream as possible in what it's trying to do. So it does get noticed in the clutter of all the media out there. If print can, every print campaign that's produced can really be interrogated as to why it's being produced and what its purpose is and how it works with other channels, it'll only elevate it, because I don't see print going away. I mean, the digitization of print taking place, but I don't see as a format in a country like India it'll go away. It's just how we can empower it as much as we can to work in line with all other medias coming in place.
Thanks, Gurdeep. Shashi, can I come to you next, please?
So Ed, my take is, I believe print is an inflection point. For those who believe, there's a lot of juice. For those who don't believe, will suffer. So finally, it's in the mind and the psychology of the publishers. If they decide we can exploit this in the right way and they're proactive, there's a lot of juice. But if they tend to ride along with it, then they will suffer. So no, I can argue both ways. I can paint a doomsday picture. I can also say there's a lot of juice. It depends on how publishers react and move. And the point Denise was making, that they see it as a brand rather than as a format. I think so. For those who are proactive, there's a lot of headroom at this point in time.
Thank you, Shashi. And Aggie, finally to you, please.
I have 2 points of view. One is on the editorial content of print. And I think if you're asking me to gaze in a crystal ball, I think where it will get to, and I hope it gets to, is that print stops reporting the news because everybody gets news. You still see the newspapers with the headlines of what happened yesterday or what happened the day before. I think all that should go away. The only, the only part of the news they should put out is a perspective or an alignment or a debate on what has already happened, not actually what has happened, because we all know that when we open the papers, we still see the same headlines, sometimes transcripts of television interviews of what has already happened. We don't need to know that. But if it gave us a well-written perspective of what has happened, which I can't get on online or I can't get on video, that will be a rebirth of the way we see editorial, as opposed to reporting the latest news. It's never going to be the latest anymore, right? It's never even going to be half latest. So the only thing it can bring is and a well-argued perspective of what has actually already happened, which you may not get anywhere else just because of the depth of the reporting or because of the caliber of the people writing it. And the same will then translate to advertising. If it's just going to be the last line of the television commercial or the slug line and used for salience, it should not be used. It should be used to bring out a side of the brand that only talks to people who need more information about the brand, not for people who don't need more information. They can watch television or go online. But if people have seen something and they know about a brand and need to find out more, then that's where print advertising should play. If we go forward with that, then I think we'll have to sadly say goodbye to today's headlines about what happened, because that's no longer pertinent anymore. But today's perspective on what happened day before yesterday, by two sides of the same coin that we wouldn't have been able to access on television or digital. Now that will make me want to read, because it's something that I don't know.
Fascinating. So it's about depth of content.
Yeah, because we are a width society. The only strength print has is depth, and they're caught right now between width and depth.
Yeah, and I think we all feel that we live in quite a fleeting world where we're all kind of getting busier and busier, and I think some fascinating insights have come out in today's discussion. I love this idea of dwell time, taking some time out to reflect and to think. Yes, we have plenty of opportunities to feel through the kind of the availability of video on mobiles, but it's actually the ability to think, and the voice of reason, I think, is where print can play a key role. And also, I really like this top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel. And to Gurdeep's point, just making sure that we're clear about what the role of print is within the overall campaign and setting the right objectives to be able to achieve that. So I would like to thank everybody for sharing your views today. I personally found this absolutely fascinating. I feel like I'm a print evangelist now, and I think what we should all do is go and have a hot cup of chai and read the paper. So thank you very much for your time, guys. Great to be with you, and stay safe.
Thank you
very much.
Well, thank you very much to our panelists. We can all agree that that was an absolutely fascinating discussion with actionable insights and ideas. And I'm sure we all have a lot to chew on. And now it is my privilege to invite Chief Marketing Officer of Croma Infinity Retail, Mr. Ritesh Ghoshal, to talk to us through the thinking behind the brief of this year.
Hi. This is the second year Croma is associated with the Power of Print campaign. Of course, things have changed a lot since last year. Last year, same time, we were in a party face-to-face with a lot of people. It's a signal of the times that we are announcing the winner of the POP event in this manner. And that really brings me to the brief this year. Last year, our brief was around creating awareness for e-waste under our e-care umbrella, and we got fantastic results. This year, given what the world is going through, I think there are bigger issues than e-waste. And as India and the rest of the world try to come back to normal life, this has become a really big part of how life looks today. And what over the past few months, traveling around the country as we try to reopen our stores, look for new stores, etc., what I observed is Indians are really very lax when it comes to maintaining social distance. We have an instinct to shake hands with people or even hug them. We have an instinct to talk as much with our face as with our hands, and our hands as with our mouths. And therefore there is a tendency to take off our mask, and there is worse, a tendency to not wear a mask, to keep it hanging like this. And that's a real problem. That's a real problem for the world and for us if you want to get back into normal life. Talking to some people, I realized the issue is one of mindset as much as discomfort. People sincerely believe that the mask's purpose is to protect them from the rest of the world. And if you're feeling really cocky about your immune system, your strength, your physical fitness, etc., you think, if I don't wear a mask, everything is fine because I can take care of myself. Actually, the problem is the mask is there to protect the rest of the world from you. You may be just a carrier, you may be immune to the virus, yet be carrying the virus, and therefore you can be a super spreader. The mask is in reality there to protect the world from you, and that information or knowledge gap is really what we are trying to plug in this campaign. Try and create awareness, try and jolt people out of their complacency and make them wear the masks. Looking forward to welcoming the winner of the campaign and taking the campaign live with TOI.
Thank you, Mr. Ghoshal. This brief is truly the need of the hour and actually couldn't have come at a better time. With 980 plus entries, it could not have been an easy task for the jury to select the winners. Let's hear what they had to say.
It's about masks are good. End of story.
I mean, copy could have been more direct.
Actually, for me, it stood out amongst the others that were there.
This one was lovely for me to read. I really enjoy it.
There'll never be a medium as powerful as the print medium. When you wake up in the morning and you look at that full page ad that slams you in the face and stops you in your tracks, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than that.
A good brief takes a decision. You wear a mask not to protect yourself, but to protect others.
This is the second year Croma has been part of the Power of Print program. Last year we had done a campaign on e-care, and it was part of our 26th January brand campaign. And of course, like any successful campaign, it allowed us to grow the sales on the 26th Jan sale period over last year significantly.
If we want to be relevant, interesting, surprising, then we need to take print seriously.
Print is such a permanent, real, final medium. It can have huge impact. There is a certain calming reassurance that print can bring. And so it can be used really significantly.
People can engage more with print. I know digital is an engagement medium, but with an actual physical print ad, a reader, a viewer can engage more.
It's very important that each brief must be taken and then the problem needs to be solved. Creativity is not for just your own involvement, but it is to be used to solve a problem.
I think Power of Print is one of the strongest awards you could get for print craft. And I was very delighted to see some of them had a very interesting way of using the craft.
It is really the final reckoner. It's got that sense of absolute truth. And as a credible source of any information, you need to have that sort of printed copy in front of you. And that's what you always treasure.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the much awaited segment of the evening, the awards ceremony. And we kickstart with the student category. And now let's take a look at the first runner-up for the student category. Congratulations, bravo, and here we are ready to announce the winner of the student category. Congratulations to all our winners in the student category, and the winner gets an internship at Croma. How terrific is that? Congratulations once again. Let's swiftly move on to the zonal category. And the North Zone winners are Karan Singh and Satyam Patel, McCann World Group. Congratulations to you. And the East Zone winners are, make some noise for Saurav Mukherjee and Arindam Dey, Rediffusion Brand Solutions. A big congratulations to our winners from the East, and the West Zone winners are Manish Chawla and Sachin Karmaran, Enormous Brands. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our South Zone winners are Ajit Emmanuel and Unni Krishnan R, McCann World Group. And now it's time for the national winners who will win the coveted Power of Print trophy and a trip to Cannes Lions. And their ad will be published in the Times Group publications. Couldn't get any better. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have all been waiting for has arrived. Are you ready? The 4th edition of Power of Print. And our second runner-up are Nilesh Kulkarni and Radesh TK, McCann World Group.
About the brief, of course, I mean, it is the most relevant thing that you can work on in these circumstances.
But the challenge was how we deliver this message to a mass, to a larger set of people, was the task.
And our first runners-up are Ajmal Sheikh and Amit Gaunkar, Ask Brand Creation Studio.
Wow. So we had fun doing it and hope you had fun seeing it as well. मैं सोचता ही प्रिंट हूँ, तो एक फ्रेम के अंदर you have to tell the story.
पावर ऑफ प्रिंट का जब भी ब्रीफ हम लोगों को मिला, तो वो हम लोगों को ज़्यादा कनेक्टिव लगा कि हाँ, ये कितना एक सिंपल डिवाइस है जो ये स्प्रेड रुका सकता है.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the big moment. The winners of the 4th edition of Power of Print are Abhishek Kadi and Tushar Mangane, WYP Brand Solutions.
I'm very, very happy to have won this award, and this is really this is surreal. I'm lost at words right now. Print is the kind of advertising that stays with you, right? It doesn't have a limit. You can look at it, you can admire it for as long as you want, and that is the place where you could just explain complicated things in a very simpler manner and also make it more impactful.
Congratulations to all our winners this evening, and of course to the big winner who gets the absolute beautiful big prize. And to all our participants, better luck next year. Well, before we close, I would love to invite Director Response of the Times Group, Mr. Samir Sainani, to give us the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Let me first thank our partner in this initiative, a partner of last 2 years, the team at Croma. Mr. Avijit Mitra, Mr. Ritesh Goshal, Raj Gopal Iyer, Kapil Butuk, and Ruchira Parekh. Thank you for the support for this initiative and thank you for coming up with such powerful and relevant briefs. A big thanks to our jury members for taking time out and judging hundreds of entries so patiently and selecting the winners for us. Senthil Kumar, Ashwini Deshpande, Kainaz Karmakar, K.S. Chakravarti, K.V. Sridhar, Parikshit Bhattacharya, Pratik Bhardwaj, Preeti Vyas, Raj Deepak Das, Ritesh Goshal, and Russell Barrett. Thank you, Ernst & Young, our process advisors, for managing the entire entry and the jury process. A special thanks to WALK and Edward Pang for enabling and moderating this insightful panel discussion. A sincere thanks to all our panelists from India and abroad. Thanks to our advertising agency, Famous Innovation, for managing the campaign and helping us drive the message home that resulted in a record 983 entries this year. Our event agency, Wow Entertainment, for putting this entire evening together. Last but not the least, a big thanks and a huge round of applause for all our participants from 256 agencies and students. It wouldn't have been possible without you. And we are constantly encouraged by your response and inspired by your work. See you all again next year. Till then, stay safe.
Well, thank you very much for calling this event to a close, Mr. Senani. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this wonderful evening. A big thank you once again to our sponsor, Croma Infinity Retail, and congratulations to all our winners. Thank you to each one of you for taking the time and making this event a grand success. My name is Sunanda Wong, and I'm signing off. Have a wonderful year ahead. Grace and peace.